There's a specific kind of childhood that nobody talks about enough. Not the kind marked by obvious trauma. Not the kind with clear villains or dramatic moments. But the quiet kind. The kind where you were present. Physically there in the room, at the table in the school, and yet somehow, consistently, inexplicably unseen. You spoke and the conversation moved on. You walked into a room and nothing shifted. You had thoughts. Deep, complex, fully formed thoughts, and nowhere safe to put them. So you learned to carry them alone. You learned to watch instead of participate, to observe instead of perform, to exist in the margins of spaces that never quite felt like they were built for you. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe that invisibility was a verdict, that being unseen meant being unworthy, that the world's failure to notice you was actually evidence of something lacking inside you. But here is what psychology has quietly discovered about people who grew up this way, and what no one ever sat down to tell you. The experience of growing up invisible does not produce emptiness. It produces extraordinary depth, and the power that develops inside a person who spent years learning to exist without external validation is one of the rarest, most sophisticated forms of psychological strength that exists. Let's begin with what actually happens inside a child who grows up feeling unseen. When a person receives consistent external validation from an early age, praise, attention, recognition, their sense of self becomes anchored to the outside world. They learn who they are through the mirror of other people's responses. This is normal. This is how most identity forms. But when that mirror is absent, when the feedback loop of recognition never reliably comes, something different happens. The child is forced by necessity to turn inward, to build an internal world so rich, so detailed, so complex, that it compensates with external world silence. Psychologists call this process individuation under deprivation. And what it produces is a self that is not dependent on external confirmation to know it exists. A self that has been built from the inside out, rather than the outside in. That is not a wound. That is architecture. And the structure it creates is more durable than almost anything the externally validated world produces. There are specific powers that develop inside people who grew up invisible. And each one of them is worth understanding fully, because you have likely been carrying them without ever having words for what they are. The first is a calibrated, almost supernatural ability to read other people. When you grow up unseen, you become a student of human behavior out of survival. You learn to read rooms, to decode body language, tone shifts, micro-expressions, the gap between what someone says and what they mean. You learn to feel the emotional temperature of a space before a single word has been spoken. This is not a skill that is taught. It is a skill that is forged through years of watching, processing, and interpreting a world that required you to understand it without being given direct access to it. Psychologists studying individuals with high interpersonal sensitivity have consistently found that those who experience emotional invisibility in early life score significantly higher in empathic accuracy, the ability to correctly identify what another person is feeling, not because they were born more empathic, but because they were trained by their circumstances to pay the kind of deep, sustained attention to others that most people never develop. You became fluent in a language most people don't even know exists. And that fluency, that ability to truly see and understand other human beings, is one of the most valuable capacities a person can possess. The second power is an internal compass that does not require external direction. Most people, when they make decisions, run them through a social filtering system. They ask, consciously or unconsciously, what will others think? What will this look like? What does the group expect? Their sense of direction is partially outsourced to the world around them. But people who grew up invisible were never given that system in a reliable way. The group's opinion was never consistently available. Approval was never a currency they could depend on. So they developed something rarer, the ability to navigate from within. They learned to ask, not what do others think, but what do I actually believe? Not what is expected, but what is true. This internal navigation system, built through years of having to rely on their own judgment in the absence of consistent external guidance, produces a quality of independence that is genuinely extraordinary. Carl Jung described this as a development of a strong inner authority, and he considered it one of the hallmarks of genuine psychological maturity. Most people spend their entire adult lives trying to develop it, You were building it as a child, simply because you had no other choice. The third power is an almost architectural relationship with solitude. The world teaches most people to fear being alone. Solitude is framed as punishment, as failure, as something to be escaped. And so the average person fills every quiet moment with noise, with distraction, with the constant presence of other people, because the silence feels threatening. But people who grew up invisible learn something different. They learn that solitude is not the absence of life. It is a particular kind of life. Rich, self-contained, nourishing in ways that crowded spaces never quite are. They build entire worlds inside themselves during those quiet years. Inner landscapes of thought, imagination, and meaning that became more real in some ways than the external world that kept overlooking them. And the relationship they formed with their own inner world, the comfort they found in it, the fluency they developed within it, is something that produces lifelong creative, intellectual, and emotional depth. The greatest thinkers, artists, writers, and innovators in human history have almost universally described the same quality, a relationship with their inner world so developed, so inhabited, that it became the source of everything they eventually gave to the outside world. You were not hiding from life during those quiet years. You were building the foundation of everything you will eventually create. The fourth power is resilience that has no performance in it. There's a kind of resilience that is loud, that announces itself, that processes pain in public, and draws strength from the witnessing of others. This is a valid form of resilience. But it is also, in a quiet way, dependent on the presence of an audience. And then there is a resilience that developed inside people who grew up invisible, the kind that has no audience, the kind that has been practiced entirely in private, in the silence of rooms where no one was watching, in the long hours of carrying something heavy with nowhere to put it down. This resilience does not perform. It does not need to be seen to be real. It has been built in conditions of complete internal solitude, which means it does not collapse when the external world withdraws its support, because it was never dependent on that support to begin with. Psychologists studying post-traumatic growth, the phenomenon of becoming stronger through suffering, have found that individuals who process pain in private, without consistent external support, often develop the most deeply integrated and durable forms of resilience. Not because suffering alone builds strength, but because suffering that is processed internally, without the crutch of constant external validation, forces the development of genuine inner resources. You did not have the luxury of falling apart in front of people who would hold you, so you learn to hold yourself. And that capacity, the ability to be your own source of stability, is one of the most powerful things a human being can possess. The fifth power is the ability to create meaning where none was given. Children who are seen, celebrated, and consistently reflected back to themselves receive meaning as a gift. They are told who they are. They are shown their value through the eyes of others. Identity arrives pre-assembled. But children who grow up invisible have to construct meaning themselves. They have to ask, in the silence that surrounds them, who am I if no one is telling me? What matters if no one is watching? What is real if no one is confirming it? These are not childish questions. These are the deepest philosophical questions a human being can face. And the people who are forced to wrestle with them early, not as an intellectual exercise but as survival necessity, develop a relationship with meaning that is self-authored rather than inherited. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who developed logotherapy, the psychology of meaning, argued that the ability to create your own meaning, independent of external circumstances, was the highest form of human freedom. The people who grew up invisible were practicing this, unknowingly, from the very beginning. Now comes a reframe, and it matters. Everything described here came at a cost. The loneliness of those years was real. The pain of being in a room full of people and still feeling completely alone. That is a specific and quietly devastating experience. The hunger to be seen, to be known, to have someone look at you and actually register what they were looking at. That hunger is real, and it deserves acknowledgement, not dismissal. But here is what that experience was also doing, beneath the surface, without your awareness or consent. It was building you into someone who does not need the world's permission to exist. Someone who can see others with a clarity that most people never achieve. Someone who has already survived a thing that most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid, complete reliance on themselves, and discover that they were capable of it. The world missed you when you were younger. That was the world's failure of perception, not evidence of your worth. And everything you became in that silence, every skill, every depth, every quiet, extraordinary power that developed in the space where recognition should have been, that is yours. Fully, permanently, unrevocably yours. There is a particular kind of person who changes the world quietly, who moves through it with a depth of perception and self-possession that others find hard to name but impossible to ignore, who creates things, art, ideas, understanding, connection, that seem to come from somewhere deeper than ordinary experience reaches. These people almost always share one thing in their history. They were not celebrated early. They were not seen clearly when it would have been easy. They grew up learning to carry their own light because no one else was holding a torch for them. You are one of those people. The invisibility was never the truth of you. It was a condition under which something extraordinary was being built, and it has been building quietly, persistently, without applause, this entire time. If something in this video reached a part of you that has been waiting to be seen, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. This channel exists for the kind of depth you carry. Stay close. There is more here for you.